I think the biggest challenge for me was the verbal section of the exam. Mostly I related also that this is a English exam on maths. So that was totally new for me. I haven't ever before taken an English exam on math. Whenever I see geometry, I somehow panicked. Whenever I see advanced topics, I didn't feel that sure about my answer because it was mind-blowing. Sentence correction, for example, I mean, being able to analyze that sentence word by word, sentence by sentence, and also inferring meaning in each exercise. For me, it was another way of doing this. It gave me that sense of what was missing.
So, hi, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And congratulations on the massive 230-point improvement to 700 on the GMAT.
Hi, Rita. It's nice talking to you again.
Yes. So I know that you've been on this GMAT journey since December of 2021. You've put in hours, months of effort to really get here. But over this long journey, 1.5 years almost, what do you think was the biggest challenge to you during your prep?
I think the biggest challenge for me was the verbal section of the exam. I could also number time management issues in my preparation, in my mocks, in my exam, and finally the struggle that all GMAT takers have, juggling GMAT with work and life.
Absolutely. Yeah. So 3 key struggles, but you persevered, you succeeded. So before we really deep dive into your journey, how you made this monumental improvement, what steps you took, let's give the viewers a little bit of an insight into who you are. So do tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Kevin. I'm a Peruvian industrial engineer. Peru is South America, if you don't know. And I'm currently working at financial services in a local bank in Peru. It's called P. I'm in charge of like managing the business of the bank of lending to small and medium enterprises. I have a role of product owner in charge of how to increase the sales of that business in a bank. So that's a little bit about my academic background, my working background, and so I'm interested. I started my interest on GMAT back 3 years ago when I was trying to figure out what the next steps would be in my professional growth. So that's a little bit about me.
So you decided that, the MBA was the way for you. And in order to get an MBA, that first step is really GMAT prep, right? So I know that when you were considering different platforms, you had some key points in mind. So what did you really feel drawn to at e-GMAT that made you choose us to help you in this GMAT journey?
There are like choices here in Peru. Not they are not like online, but they are mostly like not in test centers, but like live in Zoom,
classrooms.
I was in classrooms. I was looking for them, but then suddenly a friend, a coworker, told me about e-GMAT course. He told me about verbal course. He already by that time had taken the GMAT. He recommended it to me. I decided also give it a chance to take a look. And also I'm trying the free version, the free trial. Was the time when I realized that it was another kind of course.
Mhm.
So I started like comparing the options and also getting to know which one was better for my objectives.
Mhm.
Then that was when I also realized that e-GMAT was more intended to a holistic approach, trying to understand things, trying to not only rely on hacks or on shortcuts. And that really convinced me a lot. I mean,
Mhm.
uh, being a non-native speaker, also having that verbal side of my preparation, like the most important one,
Mhm.
to improve, to be proficient at, and getting to know e-GMAT by just, I mean, by in that time, the verbal course was
Mhm.
a really, it was afterward also that I looked at your math course and I really I got convinced also by this
Mhm.
kind of data insights that you give to the preparation that are really, in my opinion, really good in order to identify flaws, strengths, and also to invest in an efficient way your time towards the exam. So well, that was my introduction to e-GMAT. That was my first like attempts in order to evaluate alternatives, and
Mhm.
that's was the principal reason that I took e-GMAT, a strong verbal course,
Mhm.
with a holistic approach towards comprehending the questions in the exam.
Mhm. Got it. All right. So you decided to trust us. You came on board. And in that first mock that you took in December, you scored a 470 with a Q30 and a V26. So now you're sitting here with a 700, a Q49, and a V36, right? That massive 19-point improvement in quant and 10 in verbal. But when you started out your journey, right, you started out pretty small with the master comprehension course, and then you moved down the line. So how did just setting foot first in the master comprehension course enable you to then uh, apply principles or do better across bubble?
Yeah, I remember that course really good, because it was mind blowing. Sentence correction, for example, I mean, being able to analyze that sentence word by word, sentence by sentence, and also inferring meaning in each exercise. For me, it was another way of doing this totally.
Mhm.
And two, also analyzing the 5 options in that way too, in that detailed way. Okay, these things, or this exact thing was the thing that discarded this option, and also doing this in the 5 options of the sentence correction problems. So there is a total new that is a total new way of doing things, a total new process that I had to learn.
Mhm.
But it was really fun at the end of my preparation, because at first it took me a lot of time, but then it started like becoming like intuitive, to be honest. That was about sentence corrections, about critical reasoning also. This pre-thinking approach was something new for me. I mean,
Mhm.
being able to not rush directly into an option, but okay, taking a pause, thinking about, okay, what options could be, what could be the scenarios that I could think about before analyzing the options, was new, totally new for me.
Mhm.
Probably at first kind of counterintuitive, because the exam is like on a clock, and doing a pause for thinking maybe not be good, but it was after that I realized that okay, it was necessary, non-negotiable, in order to to do good on that section.
Mhm.
Finally, in reading,
Mhm.
okay, in that section also, what really I really liked a lot was, I remember that phrase that Hershey gave, that okay, not reading only about trying to understand that passage, but this approach of reading in order to learn something. GMAT readings have really good, interesting readings, and if you take on that approach to get immersed into the reading, get interested into the reading, it would be really good. It would be really better, to gain insights and also tackle the questions later on. So that was my main insight taken from master comprehension course. So if you, if everyone that would like to give a try to that course, that it would be really enlightening in order to understand the approach of e-GMAT in verbal.
Right. So, you really took all the learning that you had, you took every ounce of it. And then, despite what initially you might have felt, there's no time to pause and think, right? You just have to kind of go, go, go. You develop these methodologies that would then allow you to tackle even the hardest questions on the verbal side of the GMAT, right? So, you spend the time, you put in the energy, and I think you also did a lot of work on Scholaranium, right? Our quizzing platform, to practice what you were learning from the course itself, right?
Yeah. I love Scholaranium. There are a lot of exercises. There are a lot of data. I did practice a lot there. I did even after, before getting to Scholaranium, that the platform by itself has a lot of exercises in the course itself. So okay, Scholaranium. I entered that after doing the course, and it has another round of exercises, really tough ones too, and also medium ones. The cementing part was tough in many sections, to be honest. But it was really, I don't know. It gave me that sense of what was missing. I didn't realize the power of cementing in learning before, but being able to have these sessions of medium cementing, hard cementing, a process of cementing Scholaranium before tackling more questions really did help me a lot in order also to feel confident about the knowledge that I have studied in the course. And you see the results there, you see the trends also there, and that also gives you, okay, this is not only a sense of confidence, this is data backing up my knowledge, backing up my proficiency. So that's how I took the approach on Scholaranium.
So there was no guesswork as to, am I good enough at this topic? Have I practiced enough? It very clearly told you that, yes, you've achieved what you need to. Yes, you've practiced enough. And then also it gave you that green light that, yes, you can start the next topic with the confidence that, you've done well here, right? So that, I think, really just eliminated a lot of the guesswork in your prep as a whole, right? So
yeah.
After that, after the verbal section, that's when you move to Quant. And you mentioned you're from an engineering background, so some of these things you already knew to a certain degree, right? So how do you think, despite that the course really helped you, work with that knowledge, work to improve that knowledge, and how did you really push that massive improvement from Q30 to Q49?
Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, I'm an industrial engineer. I know how to. Okay, I have practiced math a lot in the university, but there are some key issues in the GMAT. Mostly are related also that this is a English exam on math. So that was totally new for me. I haven't ever before taken an English exam on math. But this was not simply an English exam. It was a English exam with some tricks, hidden gems in the questions, wordings. It's kind of weird at first glance. Okay, I do know how to do math, but I didn't know how to do math in GMAT. there were many my mistakes, like I I could have avoided at first, but I didn't, and it's all represented on my first Sigma Xmux. And I like GMAT because two things. The data given in your progress is really insightful in order to focus where sections you are struggling. But also in every part of the course, they also gave you like this advice in order to understand the wording of the questions in every math question. And also, I mean, you guys have a forum where I remember like writing all my questions, writing, okay, why do they put this word here? I mean, is it necessary or not? Maybe it gives him some insight. Why do they put that this value has to be like what? Okay, no, it's because you have to taste all the scenarios. Okay, makes sense. No, so I would say those two things, and the third one was this holistic approach that you guys also take in math. It's not only about solving the question, but it's also about taking into account many things. For example, inferring some things, evaluating all the scenarios. I mean, simplifying. Those are like it could be implicit things to do, but stating them in an explicit way, it's a really good, for me, it's a really good method to identify also those flaws. So I would say that for a non-native speaker, like doing math in an e-GMAT platform like made for non-native also takers, it was really good. It was really good because I could feel that the platform itself did comprehend that I was struggling understanding the statements. I was struggling understanding, okay, how to do these things. I was struggling to understand, okay, I didn't think about that by itself in a specific way. It was not only about, okay, this was good, this was bad, and you do it again, but having that exact and specific feedback really did help me a lot.
That's really well said. I think a lot of people don't think about what it means to be a non-native speaker and tackle the quant section of the exam. You know, most people talk about the verbal section and what it means, but it's very easy to forget that things like word problems, things like data sufficiency, you need to have the same comprehension skills like in verbal in the quant section as well. So knowing that you were very intentional in the quant section, knowing that you understood that, okay, the implicit, you have to state it explicitly and then tackle those things, right? I think that really shows the quality, the emphasis on quality rather that you put into your preparation, right? So that's really, really well done. And I think you reached out to us in the towards the end of your quant prep when you were studying geometry and advanced topics, right? Around March of 2023.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. March 2023, I reached to you like 1 month before taking my second GMAT. I reached to you because, okay, I scheduled my GMATs in order to, okay, give it a chance again. And also I wrote to you, to Rajat, in order to I don't know, to have more clarity towards my last days before taking my GMAT.
And then, you know, in that last 1 month before your first attempt, in April of 2023, right? I know you focused a lot on geometry, a lot on advanced topics, and we discussed a little bit about those. But why do you think that those are some topics that required a little bit extra energy from you to just kind of work through them as a whole?
Okay. To be honest, I thought that I needed to finish those topics. by that time I hadn't started even those topics on the platform. And even though I have some concept of those topics in my mind, I didn't I didn't have like that proficiency in a GMAT environment. So I started doing that, the geometry course, like in really conscious way. I started doing the cementing. I started practicing Scholarium, and I gained a lot of confidence on the geometry section. I went from having an accuracy of 30% of geometry to having like 80s in my last mock, 70s.
Oh, wow.
So it suddenly became my one of my favorite topics in geometry. The course is really complete. It also gives like not only the concept but also like some specific things about geometry, from I don't know, like how to recognize a acute angle, triangle by the side, those relationships and those really key things. Like I appreciate a lot. Like I don't know, this is an anecdote, but for example, that type of question appeared in my official exam. So I mean that concept. So it was really funny because the course like really shows you the most important things to know, but in a really detailed way. So that was about geometry. I felt more confident about geometry. I felt more confident about my timing in geometry. And also the same approach happened in advanced topics. What happened before doing the math in e-GMAT on those sections in my mocks before taking the GMAT, it was most of the fact that I was not feeling that confident. My timing was not good. When I tried to solve that, probably, I don't know, 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes. I mean, I could solve it, but I wasn't able to solve it in a timed way. Doing the GMAT course, I mean, it somehow also gives you the process. Okay, probably you don't have to be like that disorganized, like doing the math exam. You just have to follow these 1, 2, 3 steps, and that's gonna save you a lot of time. And that I ended up I wasn't solving the geometry question in like 4 minutes, 3 minutes, but in 2 minutes, sometimes less. Because whenever you try the math problems with your own approach, you could see it by different angles. But so in a GMAT exam, the time and environment, is not necessary to see it like in many angles. It's just maybe 1 or at most 2 in order if you don't feel that sure about that question, but that's enough. That helped me a lot, and it helped me a lot in order to gain confidence in my, at least in the first part of my exam, where these questions do appear, where before taking that course into those specific questions, whenever I see geometry, I somehow panicked. Whenever I see advanced topics, I didn't feel that sure about my answer. So that really paid a big toll, a big fee in my score at the last. Not being able to solve a medium, an easy question on those topics only because I haven't reviewed or I haven't studied was bad. And doing the course really did help me in order to achieve a really good score into the middle of the exam, and then facing more medium hard questions in the last. That was a really good strategy that you guys also gave me to focus on this. Don't focus on areas where you already are proficient, like algebra, for example, because in my mind was I could invest like this time in algebra, but the benefits of investing that time in the other topics that I haven't studied before were enormous compared to this one. So having that clarity of my given from you, it made it like a no-brainer in order to keep going with the preparation.
Got it. So you rounded out that quant prep, and I think you also did a lot of mixed quiz practice on the verbal side, and you started seeing good scores in mocks as well. But I know that there were some key issues in that first attempt in April that you really worked to change around in the second attempt. So what do you think really kind of went wrong in April in that attempt? What do you think, if you had to tell people out there who are taking the GMAT, what to do and what not to do on your first GMAT attempt?
Okay, I could see three things. I mean, first, I was it was my first. Yeah, no, yeah, in the online attempt was my first attempt. I was nervous about that. I mean, I've been, but that time I had been preparing like, I don't know, 1 year, more than 1 year. I was nervous about that. So I decided to study until one day before, maybe until 8 hours before. I didn't have a good rest. I didn't have clarity of timing, how to manage my timing. So I could enumerate three reasons: my time management, my approach, my mental attitude. I was nervous about that. So that's the second point. And the third one was also the method, the online exam by itself. All that logistics, all the disturbances that it could give to you. I mean, in my it didn't help, because if you combine reason one, reason two of not being like, okay, like totally confident, and also have a lot of logistics, it's really tough. It's tough. Like, okay, I give you example. Okay, every time you need to I mean, at the time you need to log in, you need to do a lot of stuff. The proctor logs, then he tells you to scan. Probably he didn't see something. He tells you to scan again. To use, you need to put your ID here. There are a lot of things that, to be honest, in the test center didn't happen. It was fast. And also in the test center, I sit directly in the computer, and that there's my GMAT. I don't need to download many things. There is much simpler in my case doing this in the test center than online. And also being nervous didn't help. I mean, probably if you're like totally self-confident in your online exam, that would be good for you. But if you're not, you're kind of, I don't know, struggling, you don't feel that confident, it's gonna be tough. And well, what also didn't help me, like I said, that the first reason was the time management. I didn't have strategy to tackle GMAT in I mean, with not, I mean, having practicing like many questions by in an independent way, not doing like a full exam. It's okay. I could see, okay, my average of question is that, I'm gonna be fine. But in the exam, many things happen. You get lost in the track in the exam, and then suddenly you have to guess like the last questions, and that's not efficient. Having this like track of, okay, how I'm going, that you can check in the exam, that could take you like 2-3 seconds. It's much better than realizing that you are out of time in the last section.
That's true. All right. So you came out of this experience knowing that you had certain things to fix. So how did you really work on those issues? And I know you worked on some other things as well in the period between your first attempt and your second attempt.
Okay. So my first attempt was on April. Wait, yes, on April. The second one was on like June 26th. So I had like 2 months in between attempts. Also, I wrote to you guys. You did help me. You did give me insights in order to where to focus. And also, what changed? My time management did change a lot. You gave me like the right way to manage my time. Like, okay, this you have to do. This is your approach. Whenever you see a question like going way more than this threshold, okay, that's not a good way to go. That really helped me a lot. I ended up taking my GMAT like having like 30 seconds in each section, like more. I mean, so investing in the last question, in the last hard question of my exam, like 2.5 minutes, it was a luxury in verbal and in math. So well, that's when I felt, okay, this is a hard question and I'm having 2.5 minutes. That's when I felt, okay, this went good. This went good, but it wouldn't have been possible without knowing how to manage my time, knowing how to manage my time in a simple way. You gave me a simple matrix because at the first I was doing too much logistics. I was crossing every tic-tac-toe in a time management. Yeah, but doing that also, I mean,
it takes a lot of effort.
Minutes or in 1.5 minutes, and also it takes a lot of effort marking each question. Not the way to go. But I mean, having a 2 columns matrix, and also it served that same purpose, was much better for me. And so, well, that's you realize that about my performance. You realize that something was not working, and you recommended me the other path. I mean, that clarity being given by another person, like watching your performance, is for me enormous. And that was key. I mean, being able to perform, being able to finish my exam on time was key for me, because my last mock, you remember, that was, okay, I did good in the first, second, third section of my last Sigma mock. Okay, that was awesome. But in the last one, I remember guessing like 8 questions, 7 questions of math, like 6 questions, 7 questions on verbal 2. I mean, that was not acceptable. It was clear in the stats of the Sigma smoke that I was totally struggling in time. Not being aggressive in the first section. That I do remember that a lot. You kept insisting me, okay, be aggressive in the first section, but also don't also, okay, you could be aggressive but also maintain your accuracy. So that was, at first I was aggressive, and I had to learn to calibrate that in order to maintain my accuracy, because we want you, Kevin, to be aggressive but also to safeguard your score, to maintain your accuracy, and that became like really in the top of my mind. Exam started being aggressive, but also maybe investing like 3 to 10 seconds. Okay, I'm really sure about this. Okay, yes, boom, and I get forward, because I was investing like in the first question, like, I don't know, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes per question. I did had some time in order to double check, because I was getting some mistakes that by investing maybe 10 seconds I could have avoided. And so that was key. That was key in my official exam, like these time management issues. The second thing was critical reasoning. Okay, I proved in my last mocks that sentence correction was not an issue for me. I became really good in sentence, so that was not a problem. My problem were most located on critical reasoning. That was my weak area, and in my medium area was reading comprehension. So I was struggling to tackle critical reasoning. And it had relation with time management, because whenever I felt the clock going on, this pre-thinking approach, like, got compromised. I didn't invest enough, and by not investing enough question on pre-thinking approach, it ended up me like, okay, not really understanding the question, not thinking about the option, not really understanding the connection between what was the question asking and what were the options. So I didn't realize about that until I focused more on that question. You guys gave me the opportunity to also to have a session with Harsha. That really boosted my comprehension a lot. It was awesome, that session. He has the ability to explain you and to deep dive in your skills. Where are you? Deep dive on the points where you are faltering, because you could divide. I mean, the way I see it, okay, I'm struggling critical reasoning. Probably my time is not going good. That's my way of seeing it. But he like has the ability to see, okay, let's deep dive this in 7 sections. Not visualizing the statement, not understanding the passage, not keeping the details, not analyzing each section in the timed, in the time supposed to be. But he has like 7 points, 7 important points. Finally, I ended up like faltering more in the analyzing section. I could understand the question, I could rethink, but being so soft in analyzing the questions really was my biggest mistake. That was, I mean, having the clarity to understand that in my next question was awesome, because okay, I could pre-think, I could understand, but okay, now don't rush. Take to analyze this, take time to visualize this, and then you finally approach the question. Okay, at first I was doing those in not timed environments to gain the muscle. That was a tip also from Harsha. And then only after that I started doing those questions in school learning with timed environments. It helped me a lot tackling medium in the first section and also hard in the last section. So it was really mind-blowing, those sections by Harsha, those beats that you also guys gave me about. Okay, also Harsha teaching this critical reasoning question to other students in another section, but feeling like related to them, because they did also have the same problems. Also was pretty good, because I didn't feel like, okay, this is only an issue of mine. No, this is a process. It's a structural issue that many people are struggling. I'm one of them, and there is already a method in order to tackle it. So that was a second biggest point. And this approach of critical reasoning did apply, or did help me a lot in reading comprehension, because I mean, being able to visualize is not a skill that you only use on critical. It's a skill that you also use on reading. It helped me because, okay, I could apply this in reading. I finally ended up applying this in reading, and I finally ended up like getting better scores in reading and critical reasoning in my official GMAT. But it was not about a matter of, I don't know, practicing more questions. Okay, totally not about that. If I hadn't had that guidance, probably I would have ended doing that. Okay, maybe I need to practice more, maybe I need to invest more hours, but it's a structural approach to solve this. Not as simple as investing more hours or as practicing more, but rather on identifying these niche weaknesses that you have, and also pausing a little bit to practicing non-untimed environments, and then only after solving those 2 issues, practicing again in a timed environment. That's for me the biggest growth that I had in verbal in that last month and a half before taking my second GMAT. I really do appreciate a lot that help given from you guys. I mean, the resources, the time with Harsha, the tips also about, okay, in the forum, the detail of the tips, it's worth mentioning it. If you don't feel sure about taking an online course, I could say that it's really good. I mean, the course by itself has a lot of details in the course itself, but also in the forum there are experts like Harsha and Shredra. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but
Shraddha. Yes.
Prada, yeah, Stacy too. But those are the ones that I have in my top of mind because they have answered me tons of questions in the forum. And it's really good because whenever also think about it, whenever you see a question, answer it probably, I don't know, not in the same time, but I don't know, 3 hours later, it's way better because you remind something. And you and the brain works like that. Reminding something works better. Like active recall works better in the preparation for exams. So well, that's a little bit about my biggest improvements in my last GMAT. Time management, critical reasoning, and also having taken a GMAT before gave me that boost in confidence a lot. Taking it in a test center was way better for me. So those three things, I think, changed a lot my score from 630 to 700.
And I'm sure you must have been delighted to see that score, to see that, this is the end of the GMAT journey. You can close the book and then move forward. I know you were really excited when you emailed us. It was one of the best emails that I received that week, really.
Thanks. Yeah. I was really delighted to see finally my grade in the screen. That time really passed really fast in the exam. I don't know, somehow it ended up that the 3.5 hours like passed really
Like that.
fast. Yeah. Because I was so focused. I mean, watching my time, watching the exam, watching the questions. It was really fun in the last part because having that clarity of the strategy behind the exam, it gives you less things to think about in the strategy and more like bandwidth to think about. Okay, do your best because you have this internalized. So that was really good for me. I mean, not having to worry about my strategy because my strategy was already reading, but doing my best in the quality of my questions, the quality of my comprehension.
Wonderful, right? So, over this course of your entire journey, you've had so many learnings, so many improvements, so many shifts in the way that you think, the way that you look at these questions. But if you had to give any advice to GMAT aspirants out there, what would it be?
For example, for a non-native speaker, I think that the verbal section could be tough. If I could give you an advice, it's okay. If you want to achieve like or to highlight to achieve a good score in verbal, in my case, for example, it was not only about doing shortcuts, doing hacks to achieve that. It was more about like learning and having a deep understanding of the question, deep understanding of grammar, the logical aspects of the questions. That's why I feel really good about having made the choice of joining GMAT, because they do have this holistic approach of how to tackle that. So in my case, it did help me a lot for a verbal section. Also for example, Quant. Okay, once again, okay, it's not enough like having how to solve this question because you have solved it in the school, but also paying special attention in the details, understanding also the questions in a language that is not yours was pretty key. That's a advice that I would give you. That's from the academic part of the exam, in my perspective, and also in the strategy part of the exam. Probably try things that I would have done different. Probably practicing time management way before, not like 1 month or 1 week before taking my GMAT. That's not advisable. If you could practice time management way before, would help you. And also with the exam, probably maybe you could visit at the test center and you could see how the process is. But because if you feel the way more comfortable in a test center than in an online exam, probably that's gonna boost some confidence in your exam. And so that would be in the strategy. Time management did play a huge role in my exam, in the strategy view, and also that confidence of the exam. And if you have the chance also that maybe other person could check your advance, having that opinion from a third person, it's enormous. It's enormous. It's mind-blowing. I mean, getting to know where your weaknesses are, because you could think, okay, my weaknesses are these ones, but the other could think, okay, yes, but you have worse weaknesses than or flaws on that, and in the part where those match are the part where you need to focus. So that saves you a lot of time. And that's it. And that's an academic way of viewing it in my side, and a strategic way of viewing it too.
So very holistic advice. You've covered all the fronts there. As much as our course is holistic, I think this interview has really given people an idea of how to look at the exam from multiple fronts, not just quant and verbal, but all the aspects that really go into taking the exam. So, once again, Kevin, thank you so much for coming, right? It's been such a pleasure working with you, and congratulations again on the amazing improvement to GMAT 700.
Awesome. Thank you, Ria, for the invitation. Being able to speak here, I mean, I would like also that people that maybe are in my position like 1 year ago could have that piece of advice, or that that opportunity to not take the same mistakes. They could harness those experiences into their preparation. I would feel really good about that. And also I would like to say a big thank you to you, e-GMAT guys, especially to you, Rita, for taking that time to deep dive into my weaknesses, my flaws, and also being that voice that oriented me in the last part of my GMAT. It was really important for me having that clarity, having that peace, that strategy was in charge of an expert. It was really good. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those kind words. And I think with that it's a wrap. So thank you, Kevin, and thanks everyone for watching. All the best, happy learning, and take care. Bye-bye.